afternoon and welcome to the 11th of our series of Tea Tuesday events and our 6th event of 2021. My name's Hilary Woodhead. I am NAPA's Executive Director and I'm delighted to host these live events which enable me to drink tea, actually I've got coffee today, and chat with inspirational people. This is a free event. If you'd like to make a small donation to NAPA, which helps us to run our helpline, perhaps just the price of a cup of tea or coffee, you can do so in the chat box. Gianna, my colleague, will put the details in there now. And I am delighted today to be chatting and drinking tea or coffee with York Roth, founding trustee, and Monica Lang, director of My Life Films, about the role of television in the lives of people with dementia. So we're going to spend the next half hour or so chatting about this topic, and we hope you will have questions. So please put your questions in the chat or in the Q&A, and we will get to those as we go. But what we thought we would start with to get us in the mood is actually a clip. So to get us in the mood to talk about television, would you like to just share your clip with us to start us off?
Yes, I will do that. 1 second.
My Life TV is the streaming service for people living with dementia. There's a wide choice of carefully curated content. All high-quality TV programs from leading broadcasters. Plenty of animal shows. Content to lift the spirits. Slow TV for respite. And history-based shows for reminiscence. Plus, there's specifically created content for audience participation. Sing-along, chair yoga,
and in,
and quizzes. The not-for-profit platform has new programs added all the time to keep the viewer happy and engaged. My Life TV, the Dementia Friendly channel.
Excellent, thank you for that. That's certainly got me in the mood anyway. I want to watch all of those programmes. So can we just start off, would you tell us a little bit about yourselves, about My Life Films, and about how My Life TV kind of came about? Who'd like to start us off?
Maybe I should start because I'm the founding trustee of the charity. And my background is in filmmaking and television. So I'm originally from Germany, came over in 1996 to London as a correspondent, then set up my own production company and have been a storyteller my whole life long. And 8 years ago, my wife and I kind of heard the fact that people with dementia cannot really watch television anymore. We didn't have any experience with dementia at that time. And we thought, that's weird. Why can people with dementia, why do they find it difficult to follow TV programs? And we always thought television is great because it entertains you. My auntie is in palliative care, or was at the time. For her, news documentaries were really a great friend. So she could entertain herself and engage herself with something when she was alone in her room. And we thought, well, my wife actually had the idea, why don't we entertain people with their own lives? And we make a film about their own life. And so I started experimenting. Well, I started volunteering in a group with a lady called Pam Schweitzer, who is a great expert in reminiscence therapy. And I sort of, we didn't reinvent the wheel at the end. We just basically took the best of reminiscence therapy, the best of music therapy, and put it into a film, into a digital file based on still images and music, which is meaningful music tracks and interviews with the person with dementia. And they were the star. They decide what goes into the film. And created a product which we had no idea at the time how powerful and wonderful it is, which brings so much joy and happiness to the families living with dementia and the person with dementia, because the person really sees the film and how they want to be remembered. So it's really very much about the person and not what the illness makes out of the person. And so that was 8 years ago, and we've done several hundred of these free productions so far, and had to stop when COVID came along, and that's when we then came up with some other new digital products we're going to talk about later. So I'm still the trustee of this charity, and I absolutely love it. I think I can't do anything better because it's so intrinsically motivating. And yes, I'm really, really glad we had the idea at the time and made it a charity. So it's all for free. And we really hope that we can reach everyone with dementia in the UK at one stage.
Just amazing that you've been able to do that, and with charitable status, you know, that you've been able to do that for people, and that for that to be of no cost to them, which I think is really exceptional. Thank you. Did you want to add anything, Monica, in terms of kind of the how the charity has evolved, particularly over the last 12 months?
Yeah, so my name's Monica. I'm the director, and I joined the charity like as a volunteer 2 years ago. And helping Jörg, and we're a very small team, like 10 people with volunteers and some paid people, like properly like since last October, because we were trying to innovate and try to make the best out of the pandemic, and trying to see how we can reduce isolation and bring more stimulation into people's homes, because there were, you know, not a lot of things where they could go to, and that's for us was like a blessing, because we could take stock and hold and see how we can use Jörg's expertise in the media world and bring it together to that wonderful new product, My Life TV. What we're going to talk about this now.
Brilliant. Thank you both. Thank you both so much. And it's lovely to have you both together as well. To have two guests is really special. So thank you both for being here. And today we're going to talk about, obviously, I've worked in social care, worked with care homes for well over 30 years now, a very, very long time. And I think when I first started out as an activities coordinator, I was under quite a lot of pressure to turn the telly off, you know, to kind of get the telly off, to do other things, to make sure that, you know, people spent their time in different ways. And so I think we have come full circle in a way. We're now thinking about actually television in quite a different way, thankfully, to perhaps how it was perceived early on. So I think, you know, for this topic today, you know, should we turn the telly off? You know, what are your thoughts about how television is and can be used in a care setting? What's been your experience so far? Monica, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, so when we launched My Life TV, the Dementia Friendly channel, which is, you know, carefully curated for people either living at home or in a care setting, we really thought about what, you know, the person is our customer, you know, has to be all about them. And when we did the first pilots with care homes in our local area, the feedback we got was just amazing of how television can be a positive thing. So we all know our grandparents sitting for hours in front of the television. Doesn't mean that's a good or a bad thing, but people do it because they enjoy it for a certain reason, because they have certain interests.
Yeah.
And the feedback we received after the trial, and that gave us a massive confidence booster to launch the product fully as a non-for-profit product, was that it does help. This improves the mental state of that person and helps the carer for various reasons. We go into that more detail later.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think sometimes, and you know, I'll be interested in your thoughts as well on this, that actually the television isn't about noise just in the background, is it? That, you know, that it can be used as a tool in itself to help people connect and to establish rapport and conversation. Did you want to add anything to what Monica said about that?
I think the word meaningful is just so important, because if it's just kind of white noise in the background and no one, you know, not of interest to anyone, then I think it's not good. But if you can basically give somebody the content which they like and which reminds them of happier times and which sort of connects them with their own self, then it's really, really powerful. And I remember, and it's just really sort of a journey I had to go on when I came from the world of television. It's very commercial and very competitive, and we came to the world of healthcare, and I spoke to one of the funders at the time, and I said, oh, you know, our films and this is making films for people with dementia, it's a lot about entertainment, because that was my original idea. You know, it should be entertaining. What is bad about entertainment? They said, oh no, we don't fund entertainment. So, And then all of a sudden I realized, oh, we always have to look at all these outcomes. You know, like if you have a bad idea which measures 20 outcomes, you'll probably get money. But if you have an excellent idea which has an awful lot of, well, we call it stickiness, which means people come back to it, they like it. So their user experience is really, really positive. And when you have a product like this, then you can actually add outputs afterwards and sort of change it around and make sure that it does more than just entertainment. And there's so many things which the right meaningful television can do for you. And with NAPA, you know, we had this feedback group last week, and I wasn't part of it, but Monica was, and you were, I think, Hilary. It was amazing to hear that feedback, and this means we can make the product better because we offer meaningful television. And if what works for you might not work for me, but it's all on that platform. So once we kind of know what a person wants, then we can deliver it to that person, and it's available at all times. It's like Netflix. You can just basically pick and choose and play whenever you want.
Yeah. And I think I really, you know, that's something that over the last 12 months, we've all probably watched more television than we have for a while. And that on demand, you know, being able to watch things in a time when you want to watch them, not necessarily in real time, and to watch a whole series over a weekend if you want to, you know, it's a very different way of accessing television, isn't it? And I think that's not necessarily something we automatically think of when we think of caring for people, particularly in a care home, is that sort of on-demand approach, you know, when you want to, when you feel like it approach. And perhaps there is more of a traditional view of how to use television. And I think, you know, why do people watch television? Why do we watch television? And I suppose, you know, we watch it for all sorts of reasons, but isn't that the same for the people that we support, really? You know, why do you watch television, Monica? What is it about television that entertains people, do you think?
Yeah, I think for me it's or what we also see from the feedbacks we receive when we go back to the families and ask, you know, what is right or what is not yet quite right about what we deliver to via My Life TV, is that we often get the feedback that it's so personal. And we work with the University of Worcester on a research level, and our research partner, Dr. Tracy Williamson, said it's not, yes, it has to be like a calming sometimes or stimulating content, but you can't say this is the right thing for a dementia person, because it goes all back to how they enjoyed their life before. You know, if they're interested in history, they would switch on the history. So it's all about personal interest. You have to make it very personal. So you can't just switch the telly on or My Life TV on for them. Yeah. So you have to know who that person is to make it meaningful. So I watch things to relate that because I'm interested in something. I like to watch like history stuff or nature programs. And the other reason is I just want to just chill.
Yeah.
And this is where I want to chill, or person, for example, the carer wants to have a cup of tea, do something else, but leave their partner or loved one in a very safe space, and knowing if they switch on our slow TV programs, they will not be agitated. They will be, you know, in a good mental mood for that 10 minutes, whatever, how long that might be. Yeah. So it's respite, you know, for me, it's relaxation and stimulation at the same time.
Yeah,
I think a really important part of it as well is the shared experience. For me, it's always the funniest. I've got 3 daughters. If we watch Gogglebox together, we just literally, I wish somebody would film us when we react to people reacting to television. It's sort of, you know, you have fun together. It's possible. I mean, if you do it every night, it becomes a bit sad. But that's the same like junk food. You know, once in a while, junk food is probably really nice, yeah, but you shouldn't eat it every day. Yeah. And, but why not sort of, you know, give you these guilty pleasures? My middle daughter, she works in social care, and she comes home in the evenings and quite often puts on The Real Housewives. And I thought at first, whoops, you know, you have a master in psychology and all these other things, yeah. Why do you watch The Real Housewives? And she said, you know what, it helps me to wind down. Okay, I wouldn't say that everyone listening today should now, you know, start showing Real Housewives to people at the next unless they really, really love it. Yeah.
Yes.
But
yeah.
What's wrong about a bit of guilty pleasure? But more importantly,
absolutely,
the shared experience and a lot of the content on the platform actually stimulates people to have a discussion. We heard that the ballroom dancing brought out a lot of people. And we're thinking stuff like we have this 1980 Wimbledon final between Bjorn Borg and John McEnroe. When Wimbledon is on, maybe, take some of the old images and then start kind of, bring people into the present, kind of reconnect them with right now and speak about Wimbledon and have maybe board games as well.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting about that really made me think that, sometimes when this happens to me when I like silence when I'm watching Midwife on a Sunday night. And of course, what often happens is that my children will start asking questions because it's historical as well. I was like, I'll answer questions at the end, like I'm in a training session. But actually, using a platform like this one, it's okay because you can pause it, and it's okay for people to then go off and talk about something else that's been prompted by what they've watched. And I think that's really important, isn't it? That actually it's not about watching the whole program. It may well be about watching the whole program, but it doesn't have to be about that, because actually it may well stimulate conversation, discussion, or another activity, like a cooking activity or whatever else might be prompted by watching a particular program, which it just really made me think about that. I'm watching telly, actually this is about stimulating conversation and connection as well, which is lovely. I think you've got another little clip that you'd like to show us, haven't you, about why we know this works?
Let me show you a couple of clips, actually.
Lovely.
Oh, where am I? Next one here.
My Life TV is.
Let me quickly give you the context first. So
okay.
This lady is in a care home where we did our trial, and you can imagine, like, when you start a project like this, you always think, oh, when do we find out about the impact and how should it work? Could it work? But the lady who runs that care home sent us this clip from the trial phase. And sometimes I feel, just seeing something like this, I knew this is going to work. This lady is called Barbara, and she sometimes feels very down, but they discovered that we have a laughter tracks. There's people laughing on the platform, and they showed it to her, and that's her reaction to it. And it's wonderful.
Oh, so wonderful. It's lovely, they don't. Little girl. Not noises like that. Oh, you're gorgeous.
So I always say, like, if I could laugh like this every day, once a day, I think I'll be, I'll get 5 years older. It's just so good to see that you have that fun and joy. And then we have another clip, which is the daughter of one of our users in a home setting, who speaks about how her mom reacts to the platform. Okay. And the lady called, which you'll see on the right-hand side of the picture, called Joyce, she loves to watch the royal wedding, for example, and she watched it the other day twice in a row. And when she started watching it for the second time, she said to her daughter, "Isn't that wonderful? I haven't seen this for decades." And that gave her joy. So let me show you this as well.
BBC Radio Sussex.
She will just sit there and watch it and engage totally from beginning to end. And I watch with amazement that I think she's not even fidgeting, she's not looking around, she's totally engrossed in what she's watching.
Yeah, and that says it all, doesn't it? That really gives some peace of mind sometimes particularly to a family carer, perhaps, who needs to get on with a few things, but knows that they can do that whilst the person they're caring for is absorbed and interested and engaged in something that has some meaning for them, which is lovely. And the fact that the daughter knows what she's watching, she can chat about it afterwards as well. It's not that the telly's just gone on and another programme comes on that perhaps hasn't been chosen, but it's just the next programme that comes on. And we know sometimes that can happen in a care home too, is that it's a well-intentioned put the news on, but actually as people are busy, something else perhaps comes on that isn't particularly relevant or of interest. But this way, that actually you've selected what somebody's likely to enjoy, then it perhaps reduces the risk of that a little bit, of that happening.
Yeah.
Thank you both. So in terms of, you've got this Netflix for people with dementia, and we've seen kind of the impact that it can have in terms of gathering feedback. So you mentioned, Jock, a little bit about what last week, and we had one of our advisory groups for activity coordinators that gave some feedback. How important is feedback in terms of you developing the platform? Can you say a little bit more about your process for gathering feedback?
Yeah, so for us, it's the centerpiece. Yeah, so what we always have our customers, like people with dementia, is the heart. Yeah, so and it's when we so first of all we do impact assessments. So we go back to sometimes to the person who has dementia, or most likely it's the family carer who will fill out the impact assessment. So we have things, so quantitative measurements in place where we learn and get overwhelmingly positive feedback so far. For example, 80% say that it does make a positive difference to their mood and mental well-being. Yeah, which who has thought that television can have such a good impact and a positive for sure. And 40% say it's causing less agitation. So if you are really in love with animals, we have a lot of animal shows on there, like cute kittens and puppies, and people just feel happy, and it reduces agitation. And we've seen in the feedback panel we're having with a couple of care homes that they use it just for that purpose. Yeah, so they have the joint viewing experiences, but it's also used as a tool in the moment to reduce that agitation. Yeah, so we're trying to have academic research now, and we're working on that along the way. But most of the things are quite simple, yeah, because it has to be things that make people happy, and it's yeah, and maybe you can explain a bit more about the content and how we curate that, and it's not all scientifically,
I feel like every feedback is so important for us, because we put something out there and we'll have to just make it better with everything which comes back. Last week we spoke to a care home in Hampton in Southwest London, and we kind of saying, oh, we have this wonderful slow TV, like 90 minutes of Richmond Park. It's the most beautiful content you can ever imagine. The lady just said, you know what, actually, I don't really need slow TV because my people always fall asleep by themselves. Yeah, so I need something more uplifting and engaging. And a bit more like the ballroom dancing or the London Community Gospel Choir, which gets you up in the morning. So that brought us an idea that we should maybe almost even tag content sort of for kind of like the mood it carries. Sort of, in the morning you might something which gets your heart rate going, and the evening you might something which gets you more sleepy. We need feedback all the time. I think there's when people sort of trial us and then they stop using us, and we always ask for feedback, and people would say, yeah, mom couldn't concentrate long enough. Fair enough. There will be some people where it's not going to work, but every single bit will help us to make it better. There is not one single formula.
And that somebody might not concentrate for very long, but that's okay too, isn't it? Because you've got programs of different lengths, haven't you, as well? And actually it's okay if people don't watch all of it, but it's okay to dip in and out of it. And I think that's really important to remember, isn't it? That it doesn't have to be an epic long, a 3-hour film extravaganza for somebody to be really engaged. It could be 5 or 10 minutes. That's really important and worthwhile as well.
We learn from our documentaries, which we make about these people's lives, which are up to 30 minutes. I remember my premiere, the first film I ever made, the guy dozed off after 8 minutes. And I said, oh God, this is terrible. But his attention span was quite short. And because it was all segmented, well, the family then started showing maybe 2 or 3 chapters each time. And so the same here. It is, the platform is very intuitive, and I believe that, I would say my parents who are in their 80s who don't have dementia, they would probably be able to use that themselves because they have an iPad. So I think there is an ability that people will be able to use it themselves, but it's probably more important that the family carer and the care worker in a home environment, that they understand what content is needed and wanted and assist people with it.
Yeah.
Once you know what that person wants, I think you will find that you have gained a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. That's your starting point, isn't it, really? So in terms of how what happens next, how do people find out more about how to sign up? Is it that, what is the process for people to hear more about this type of television, this kind of, this service, which is very much about people with dementia being able to access television in a meaningful way? What's the process for interested care homes?
Yeah,
find out more?
It's very easy. So it's really Netflix for people living with dementia. So it's an on-demand service. So you go to our website, and we'll be in the chat later, wildlifefilms.org, and you can sign up to our subscription.
Yeah.
And there's two versions. There's one for smaller care homes. We charge £4 a month. You can cancel anytime. There's always 1 month free. And we have a larger subscription which allows for up to 30 devices for bigger care home groups to access, and that's £30 a month. So it's £1 per month per person, yeah, or even less, yeah. So you can sign up yourself if you have problems because you need a debit card. You just get in contact. We can sign you up from the back end and do an invoicing process. And more importantly, we have a cooperation with NAPA, so we have a special code, 6 months free, especially now as we are just fresh and young charity enterprise. We want to get as many people on there, get feedback, and yeah, just get in touch and take up that offer.
Excellent. That's excellent. Thank you so much. And I think we have a couple of questions in the chat. One which is, and this is a little bit like I was saying about, being told to turn the television off. But, my manager says, turn the television off, but our residents love it. How can I convince my team that television can be a good thing? So this is really about infusing other people. Any advice really on how to encourage the team that television can be a good thing?
It's obviously difficult from our end to kind of give meaningful advice because we don't work in a care home environment. But I think the best argument for example, for our platform is that it's meaningful content, specially curated for people living with dementia and their cognitive needs. So you're not having to channel surf to find something which might be right at that moment. It's all there. You don't have to go to YouTube to search. It is all there. You can trial it, and if you find that it's useful, you continue to use it. And if you trial it and you find, no, maybe it's not the right thing, you can get rid of it again. It's just a click of a button, like any other streaming service. So I believe that I would say try it out. We are convinced that people with dementia will benefit from it, and as well the whole quality of care in the environment of a care home. It's not a silver bullet, but it's a useful tool to help here and there in activities or for people who might be isolated in the room.
Absolutely,
that's a great answer. Monica, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think it's as Jörg said, it's not just television, it's so much more. It's a therapeutic tool. It's a meaningful activity. It's a safe space, and it can, you don't binge watch My Life TV. Why shouldn't you? I mean, why should you? Yeah. So you can't put anything on a loop. It's, you have to click and do the next one, but in an appropriate manner, and, in the time space you think is appropriate for that activity. What's wrong about it? Maybe we should ask the other way around.
Turn the question around. Yeah, absolutely. What's your evidence that it's not good? I suppose is another way of looking at it. We do have a couple of questions. One from Suzanne. Suzanne says, we find our quizzes, which are personalised to small groups, often lead to searching for YouTube clips on things like the 1966 World Cup or the royal wedding. This resource, so your resource, looks like it could be used by staff or some of our more able residents in a similar way. And I think that's absolutely right, isn't it? That really kind of it's really grasped what the platform's about.
Hilary, we find that our quizzes are very popular, and the quizzes would be kind of famous Hollywood actors or Bollywood actors, famous musicians, and the image would be there for 10 seconds, and then we'll show the name. So it's quite slow. You can stop at any time. You can talk about it, and they've been supported by Getty Images, so we have excellent quality images as well.
Lovely, lovely. And there's somebody else has said, is this something, this is from Lindsay. Lindsay says, is this something that could work for residents without dementia? Yeah. I think that's a very good point.
I think, Monica, remember last week we spoke to Professor Tracy Williamson, who's going to be our academic partner from the University of Worcester. And she said when she went on the platform for the first time, she ended up watching it for 3 hours because the puppy secrets, they're addictive. Yeah. You don't have to, I mean, it's a proper documentary, but not really with lots of plots other than the puppies get older. Yeah? So it's easy to follow, but it's wonderful to look at. And the documentaries, the royal stuff, even the mindfulness, the slow TV, I sometimes look at that Richmond Park material. I believe it is absolutely valuable as well for anyone who doesn't want that fast moving, television, which is interrupted by commercials right now. Yeah. It's try it out for people without dementia as well.
So it's dementia friendly, and it's been curated for people with perhaps, as you say, with cognitive needs that might be more common in dementia, but actually people without dementia may well enjoy it as well. And I know I certainly got pulled into the yoga too. So, there's all sorts on there, isn't there, for everybody, but it has been considered, has been put together with the needs of people with dementia in mind. Yeah, brilliant.
And then sorry, Hilary, you can create your own playlist. So once you realize you're, for example, in the room with a certain customer or a person with dementia, you can create a playlist for them. And next time, if you have more cognitive ability, you can have a different playlist for somebody who might be more interested in the documentaries rather than the easier content.
Yeah, that does make sense. Okay, this is another one from this. I don't know if it's the same Suzanne or another Suzanne. I think. Our internet at work buffers all the time, so the care home is reluctant to introduce gadgets. Any advice on this in terms of devices and how to overcome this issue?
Yeah, I mean, yes, you need internet to stream our on demand. It's on demand, so it says it, it's what it says on the tin. So the good news is that we will develop apps now, so that we are very soon, I think from end of August, we'll be able to use Amazon Fire Stick or iOS and Android apps. So it will be, now we have to have a laptop or a iPad to connect or to cast it to TV. Some very smart TVs, the newer ones, it does work via the browser. But the feedback we have received is, it's not good enough. Yeah, so we're making that investment now. So but literally, yes, you need to have you have to have internet, but there are other things to overcome the internet issues. I'm not an expert here, but there's some things you can do to overcome that.
Yeah, I think it is an issue for care homes, isn't it? So I think it's important that it was raised. So thank you, Suzanne, for raising it, because it does come up. It comes up quite a bit, doesn't it, about this issue with internet? But I think it is improving overall. And I think because everybody's got a bit more tech kind of confident over the last 12 months, that actually perhaps more care homes have more access now than they did have. But I know that it can be a challenge, can't it? So, do feed that back to us and to My Life TV as well, if you are finding that is an issue. And there's a question from Leanne here. Is there the ability to get a subscription as a business care home group for all the homes within the group? And I suppose that's for kind of a corporate sort of sign up.
Yeah, that's the corporate sign up. So 30 up to 30 access points with one subscription. So you just have one email access, one password, and then you can in parallel give it to it. It's not location bound, so you can use it across the UK with just one subscription. Yeah.
And in case there is the need for a special package, we can do this from the back end, as Monica mentioned earlier. If somebody would need like 100 devices, we can basically make that possible and then invoice people. So in case even that product, which we have, the 2 products don't fit, we can come up with a solution for that.
So quite a flexible approach. Brilliant. Okay, I think the only other question I had, which was a question from somebody that couldn't make it today, so hopefully we'll watch the recording, but wondered if you would answer the question anyway, is how do you choose the content? So how do you choose the content, and is it regularly updated? So are you putting on, like, do you take stuff off and put stuff on? So how do you choose the content, and is it regularly updated?
Yes, I mean, second question, it is regularly updated. We produce content all the time. So right now, I think any day now, there will be a new documentary about Isabella Plantation in Richmond Park. It's the most beautiful, in full bloom plantation going on. 2 versions, one just beautiful images and music, one with the gardener explaining more detail. And we have a cooperation with PACT, which is the Producers Alliance for Cinema and Television, which is a group of 720 production companies in the UK who are supporting us actively. And we did a call out for them. So we're getting fantastic, I think the BAME archive is going to go on. There's endless content coming on. What do we pick? We basically take sort of our learnings from the last 8 years, when we realize what people want, how fast or slow people want it. We are sort of deciding ourselves based on what we feel is right. We can see at the back end, if a show doesn't get viewed at all, we'll take it off again. So we are learning. It's a bit sort of, but we're not taking everything off which doesn't be watched too often, because it might exactly be the right thing for one person.
Exactly, and if it's right for one person, then it's right, isn't it? Yeah. So it might seem a little unusual, a very kind of niche documentary might seem, but actually that may well be really of interest to somebody. And I think that will evolve, won't it, over time, as you receive your feedback. That, you know, what's available will evolve. It's not done, is it? The platform's not finished.
We have partnerships like with people like intergenerational music making, who bring music to care homes, and they have obviously their own experience. So the sing-alongs came from them, in cooperation with them. We're working with the Royal Society of the Protection of Birds, so they're bringing in content, Kew Gardens. So a lot of these other organizations who have outreach programs for people living with dementia are happy to support us and give us content, because it extends their own sort of outreach for people with dementia.
Of course.
Any feedback, you know, what any ideas you have which should go on there, please tell us. We can try to make it possible. We have great connections in the world of television, internationally and nationally, and we're trying to get more and more content on there.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. And just to say, I think it was mentioned earlier, but we have at NAPA an activity providers advisory group, which is led and managed by Natalie Ravenscroft, our wellbeing support manager, also manages our helpline. And that is a group of activity coordinators out there in the field that advise NAPA on our work and potential projects and partnerships, and also have trialled My Life TV, and the feedback was absolutely fantastic, wasn't it, Monica? It really was lovely to hear, and suggestions too. So, which you're again, I understand you're taking on board. So we really are talking to those staff in care homes who will be hoping to introduce this particular approach to using television. Just one more, I don't want to miss anybody. There is just one more comment here. One of the problems relatives have had due to visiting restrictions during the pandemic is staying connected to their loved ones. Is your research highlighting any families who are using it to stay connected, e.g. creating opportunities to talk about past shared interests, etc.? That's a nice question. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think to stay connected, so it is used to stimulate conversation, so you can imagine, you young people visiting their grandparents, what to talk about, for example, so they're very well equipped in knowing how to use an iPad, for example. It's a
Yeah.
great thing which can connect even generations.
Yeah.
So I think our main learning is it is a conversation stimulus, and something, not the boring visit to the grandma at the Sunday afternoon. You can make it exciting and bring that person back to the table, because you will do something which is of their interest, and but using a tool to do so.
Absolutely. And sitting and watching something together with somebody that you love, watching something that you both love that in itself can be a really special experience, can't it? Whether you're both in the room or not, even if you're watching something, in a different place and perhaps messaging each other, which I'm sure we've all done over the pandemic as well. I think it's can be a really powerful tool for connection. So thank you both very much. Just in terms of kind of NAPA's position on the use of television, we believe that television can be a really helpful and important tool in terms of activity and engagement, and that it can continue to encourage people to be sociable. It can enable people to perhaps get involved in new interests, new activities as well, that perhaps they haven't tried before, and that it can be, as both Monica and York said, an opportunity to chill. It can be pure entertainment too, and that's absolutely fine. We all need a bit of that in our lives. So it has real benefits, particularly if we use our imaginations. And I want to thank My Life TV for creating this wonderful opportunity, really, for care homes. So thank you both very much for being with me this afternoon. Again, we never get to drink the tea because we're always chatting too much. It's probably cold now, but for bringing your cup of tea and spending an hour of your day with us here at NAPA. And just a reminder, really, that if you have any particular questions, anything that you want to talk through, you can always ring the helpline, the NAPA helpline, or visit our website for additional resources. And you can also please do visit the My Life TV and My Life Films websites as well. Just a couple of announcements really from NAPA. Our June calendar is out. Please do subscribe to NAPA News if you haven't already, to download your free calendar. It's only 2 weeks to the NAPA conference, so we're all very excited about the conference here. And if you are watching live today and you don't yet have your ticket, then you can get a ticket for half price as a special offer just today. And the promotion code for that is TTuesdayConf21, and Jana's going to pop that in the chat as well. We've got a really exciting programme planned for the conference. We're really hoping that as many people can come along as possible. It's all about moving and grooving, so getting everybody moving again after perhaps a period of time of not so much movement, getting people up and moving again. So please do join us for the conference. And next month's Tea Tuesday, which is on the 6th of July, we're hoping to be talking about intergenerational activities. So please do join us for that, and you can book that on the event page as usual. So thank you all very, very much for being here. Thank you again to both of you for spending some time with me this afternoon. I look forward to seeing you all soon. Take care and bye for now.
Thanks for having us. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.